Have you ever glanced at the calendar and felt a little thrill, thinking, what if I could retire next month? Only to shake your head and tell yourself, no, I'm not ready yet. You're not alone. The idea of retiring early often comes wrapped in daydreams of lazy mornings and endless hobbies. But there's a hidden side everyone seems to skip over. The truth is, pulling the plug on your career before the traditional age can be exhilarating, yes, but it also comes with surprises you won't hear in those glossy magazine articles or get-rich-quick seminars. And if you've spent any time weighing the possibility, wondering whether your finances, your lifestyle, or even your purpose will hold up, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll dive into the hidden truths about retiring early, the things no one tells you until you're already standing at the edge of that cliff. We'll talk about 5 crucial lessons that go beyond save more, spend less. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why social identity matters almost as much as dollars in the bank, how daily structure can make or break your newfound freedom, and what to do when the excitement of an empty schedule wears off. You'll hear real-life examples of people who leapt and some who stumbled, and get practical ideas to build a cushion of confidence, not just a cushion of cash. Let's start by peeling back the curtain on the first hidden truth. Your relationships will change more than you expect. When you work, your days are punctuated by natural social anchors, coffee breaks, team meetings, even water cooler chats. Retiring early means saying goodbye to those daily touch points, and that can feel like losing a part of your community. One moment you're swapping stories with colleagues about last night's game. The next, you're at home wondering who to call when you need someone to bounce an idea off. Take my friend Carol, for instance. She retired at 62, thrilled to escape the hustle of her advertising job. But within weeks she realized something important had shifted. Her calendar was suddenly blank, and her closest friends were still tied up with their careers. No one was around for her spontaneous lunchtime calls. It left her feeling unmoored, even a bit lonely. But here's the thing she discovered. This moment of disconnection is temporary, and it's an opportunity. Once she recognized the gap, she began reaching out to neighbors, joining a local walking group, and rekindling relationships with friends from her book club. Today, Carol says those new connections are deeper, more intentional, and even more satisfying than the casual office banter she left behind. That leads into the second hidden truth. You'll need more than a budget. You'll need a blueprint for how you spend your hours. Cashing your last paycheck is thrilling, but freedom without structure can quickly slip into boredom or anxiety. Think of your weekdays as a blank canvas. At first, it's liberating, but if that canvas stays blank, doubts will creep in. Am I wasting my time? Should I be doing more? To avoid that, you'll want to create a loose framework for your days, something that balances projects you love with space for rest. Imagine setting up a morning routine that feels like coffee with an old friend. You brew your favorite blend, take a few moments to read the headlines or jot down thoughts in a journal, then move into something that lights you up. A walk through the park, a few strokes on your easel, or volunteering at the community center. That simple structure gives your days shape without turning retirement into work part 2. And when you integrate weekly or monthly goals, like finishing a gardening project or planning a family get-together, you'll find yourself excited to wake up, not because you have to, but because you want to. Of course, settling into a new rhythm takes practice. You might try a few routines before you find one that sticks. Some days will feel more productive than others. But even small rituals, making your bed each morning, blocking off 2 hours for a hobby, scheduling a weekly lunch date, can create the feeling of purpose that keeps your mind engaged and your spirit lifted. So, as you think about retiring early, remember these first 2 hidden truths. Those office friendships won't fill your post-career days unless you nurture new connections, and the thrill of doing nothing will fade unless you build a gentle structure for your time. Recognizing these realities before you make the leap will give you the power to plan proactively, rather than reacting to the loneliness or restlessness that can slip in when your last work email pings you no more. Now that you've seen how relationships and daily routines can surprise you, let's move on and explore 2 more hidden truths that shape the real experience of early retirement. Why your sense of identity matters just as much as your savings, and how unexpected costs can sneak up on you when you least expect it. These next insights will help you build a fuller picture of what comes after I quit, so you can step into your new life with both your heart and your wallet fully prepared. Have you ever stared at the clock on a Friday afternoon and felt a jolt of excitement, and then suddenly wondered what happens next? Because the truth about early retirement is that the moment you hand in your last timesheet, you're stepping off a treadmill and into open air. And that freedom, as wonderful as it feels, can come with a few surprises no one warned you about. If you've spent your career surrounded by familiar faces and routines that gave your days shape, trading all that for unscheduled hours might sound like paradise. But paradise needs a map, because otherwise you could find yourself drifting without direction, missing the camaraderie you once took for granted, or even questioning what comes after the thrill of an empty calendar fades. Today, I want to share the hidden truths about retiring early, the things you'll rarely hear until you've already signed the papers and closed your office door for good. We'll talk about what really happens to your social life when the water cooler chats vanish, why a balanced budget is only part of the equation, and how to build both a sense of purpose and a financial cushion that stand the test of time. Along the way, I'll share stories from people who leapt into early retirement, some who soared and others who took an unexpected detour, so you can see exactly what to expect and how to prepare. Let's start with the first truth nobody tells you. Your relationships will need reinvention. When you work, your colleagues become your built-in community. You share stories over coffee, trade jokes in the break room, and lend each other a hand when deadlines loom. It's not just about who sits next to you. It's about the daily touch points that anchor your sense of belonging. Once you retire, those moments disappear overnight. You might wake up on that first work-free Monday eager to sleep in, only to find there's no one to call at 10 a.m. for a quick chat. The silence, even in a home you love, can feel startling and at first a bit lonely. Imagine my friend Eleanor, who retired at 63 from her role as an elementary school principal. She had spent decades greeting teachers every morning and hearing class stories all day. The school community was woven into her identity. The first week after she left, she realized how much she missed those daily check-ins. No one was waiting to swap anecdotes about the school play or the test scores. She felt adrift, as though the world she knew had shrunk inside her living room. But here's the silver lining. Recognizing that gap as the first step to filling it, Eleanor decided to lean into her love for mentoring. She reached out to a local tutoring center and began spending a few mornings each week helping kids with reading. Suddenly, she had a new circle of friends, both the students and fellow volunteers, who appreciated her warmth and wisdom. Her calendar filled up again, not with meetings about attendance policies, but with rewarding conversations that reignited her sense of belonging. What felt like a loss at first became a door to fresh, meaningful connections. That experience teaches us something vital. Retiring early means saying goodbye to old routines, but it also gives you the chance to reinvent your social world. Whether it's volunteering, joining a club, or starting a small book group with neighbors, you can create new daily touch points that bring laughter, purpose, and friendship back into your life. The key is to plan for this transition in advance, so you don't wait for loneliness to knock. You invite connection in on your own terms. Now let's talk about the second hidden truth. Money isn't the whole story. You might meticulously plan your nest egg down to the last dime, projecting exactly how long your savings will last based on market returns and Social Security benefits. And that's crucial. No one should retire without a solid financial plan, yet many early retirees discover that, even with the perfect budget, having all the free time in the world can feel unsettling if you don't know how to fill it. In other words, financial security gives you choices, but it doesn't automatically give you a life you love. Think of it like owning a beautiful, well-tuned car but not having any roads to drive it on. You might have plenty of gas in the tank, but if you don't map out a route, you'll find yourself stuck at a standstill. That's why you need more than enough money. You need a blueprint for spending your days in ways that feed your mind and your spirit. Take my friend Harold, for example. He retired at 60 and celebrated by clearing his schedule entirely. No more 9 to 5, no obligations. For about 3 glorious weeks he indulged in long breakfasts, afternoon naps, and endless reruns of his favorite TV shows. But then something unexpected happened. He felt guilty for wasting time, and started wondering if he'd made a mistake. His days felt empty, even his favorite shows grew stale. To counter that restlessness, Harold built a gentle routine. He began each morning with a cup of coffee and a short walk around the block, just to feel the world wake up. After that, he'd spend a couple of hours on a hobby, gardening, which he'd neglected for years. In the afternoons, he alternated between volunteering at the animal shelter and taking a Tai Chi class at the community center. Those anchors gave shape to his days. Instead of free-falling through time, he had a flexible schedule that balanced relaxation with projects that gave him pride and community. The lesson here is simple. Before you leap into early retirement, think through how you want to spend your time, not minute by minute, but in broad strokes. What activities ignite your curiosity? What causes or hobbies could you explore? Which friends and groups do you want to reconnect with? Having that loose framework, morning rituals, creative pursuits, social engagements, turns your schedule from a blank page into a canvas waiting for your brushstrokes. And that sense of purpose, paired with your financial stability, is what transforms early retirement from a gamble into a genuine possibility. So far, we've uncovered two vital truths. Your social life will change, and a tidy budget alone won't guarantee fulfillment. Recognizing these realities before you retire gives you the power to build new relationships and craft a daily rhythm that nourishes your well-being. Next, we'll explore two more hidden truths that often slip under the radar: how your sense of identity weaves into your retirement journey, and the unexpected expenses that can surprise you when you least expect them. These insights will help you prepare not just your bank account but your heart and mind, so you can embrace early retirement with both confidence and joy. Let's continue this conversation. Have you ever caught yourself imagining what life might look like with no more 6:30 alarms and no more rush hour commutes, only to hesitate and think, but what if I get bored, or worse, what if I feel lost? You're not alone. Early retirement is often painted as an endless vacation, beaches, hobbies, and zero stress. Yet when you actually step off the career treadmill, you may discover there's more beneath the surface. The hidden truths of retiring early don't get whispered in glossy brochures or shouted in morning radio ads. They come as surprises you'd rather know before you hand in your badge. Let's talk about those surprises, starting today with the first two lessons that nobody tells you. These are the realities that turn retirement goals into retirement readiness. If you're over 60 or closing in, you've probably spent years planning your nest egg. You've cut back on meals out, socked away every extra dollar, and maybe even peppered your conversations with phrases like, "Someday, I'll retire at 62. But building a pile of savings is only half the journey. The other half is about how you'll fill your days and keep your sense of purpose, because freedom without intention can leave you feeling untethered. Imagine for a moment that your job has been your primary community. You arrive at the office, wave to your favorite coworkers in the break room, swap stories at the water cooler, and end each day knowing you've played a role in something bigger than yourself. Now imagine cutting that all away at once. You might picture lazy mornings, and those do sound wonderful. But when Tuesday rolls around and there's no one waiting for your next witty comment, you could find yourself longing for the camaraderie you never realized you'd miss. That brings us to truth number one. Your social world shifts dramatically, and you have to rebuild it intentionally. My friend Evelyn discovered this in a surprising way. At 61, she retired from her role as a hospital administrator and was thrilled to escape the nonstop calls and paperwork. But after 2 weeks of blissful sleeping in, she woke up on a Wednesday and realized she hadn't spoken to anyone outside her husband since Monday morning. Her phone didn't ping with texts from coworkers. No one asked for her advice on scheduling the next department meeting. The silence felt heavier than she'd expected. Rather than letting loneliness settle in, Evelyn chose to lean into new connections. She signed up for a weekly pottery class at the community center, something she'd always wanted to try but never had the time for. There, she met fellow retirees who shared stories about their own first-year retirements, and they laughed together over the challenges of learning how to center clay on a wheel. She also reached out to neighbors for a monthly book club and volunteered at the local food pantry on Thursdays. Within a month, her calendar was full again, not with budget meetings or hospital rounds, but with meaningful touch points that gave her days shape and soul. When you picture your post-work life, it's essential to think beyond the financial headlines and plan for these social shifts. Which clubs, classes, or volunteer roles could you step into? Who among your acquaintances might love to start a walking group or coffee circle? By listing a handful of activities and reaching out in advance, you'll turn potential isolation into opportunities for new friendships, and avoid waking up on a free Tuesday realizing you've lost your daily human connections. Now, let's turn to truth number two. A padded bank account can't fill every moment of every day. You might believe that once your investments yield a certain return, you'll sip margaritas on the porch until the sun sets. Yet complete unstructured time can feel oddly daunting. Freedom feels fantastic in theory, but if you drift through days without a plan, boredom and self-doubt can creep in. You may catch yourself wondering, am I using this gift of time wisely? Or, why do I feel restless when I should feel grateful? That's exactly what happened to my neighbor, Robert. After retiring at 60 from his long career in construction, he celebrated by sleeping late and watching old westerns all morning. He savored lunches with friends and sat in his garden in the afternoon. But after a few weeks, he felt a nagging sense of unease. His wife came home to find him staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd made a mistake quitting when he did. The endless freedom suddenly felt unmoored. To reclaim his enthusiasm, Robert created a flexible daily framework. Less a rigid schedule, more a gentle rhythm. He began each morning with a cup of coffee on the porch, jotting down 3 small intentions for the day. 1 to stretch his creative muscles, like sketching a garden plan. 1 to move his body, a walk around the neighborhood. And 1 to connect with others, calling a friend or attending a community class. The simple act of writing down those intentions gave him a sense of direction without making every minute feel regimented. In the afternoons, he rotated between learning a new language online, volunteering at the animal shelter, and experimenting with grilling recipes in the backyard. On Fridays, he blocked off time for spontaneous adventures, visiting a museum exhibit or taking a day trip to a nearby town. That loose structure kept boredom at bay and let him feel the joy of discovery each week. Instead of sleeping in and feeling guilty, he woke up excited to check off his intentions, knowing he could adjust them if something unexpected came up. The lesson here is clear. Before you leap into early retirement, sketch out a broad strokes plan for your days. What small rituals will ground you each morning? Which hobbies or projects do you want to explore? How often will you connect with friends and family? You don't need a minute-by-minute itinerary, but having a few reliable anchors, morning rituals, creative pursuits, social engagements, gives your newfound freedom a purpose, so it feels like a gift rather than an unfocused void. So far, we've uncovered 2 hidden truths of early retirement: the need to intentionally rebuild your social world, and the importance of framing unstructured time with gentle routines. Recognizing these before you walk away from your last desk clears the path for a fulfilling next chapter rather than one that drifts away. Next, we'll explore 2 more secrets that rarely make it into retirement planning guides: how your sense of identity weaves into your happiness after work, and the sneaky expenses that can pop up when you least expect them. Armed with these insights, you'll be ready to embrace early retirement with confidence and joy, knowing not just how much money you need, but how to shape a life you'll love every single day. Stick around as we continue this journey together. Have you ever pictured yourself waking up on a Tuesday morning with nowhere you have to be, only to stare at the ceiling wondering, what now? It sounds like a dream. To toss your alarm clock, leave your office behind, and fill your days with whatever you please. Yet when the novelty of 0 meetings and endless free time settles in, you may find surprises hiding beneath that freedom. Early retirement is often sold as perpetual vacation, but there's a hidden side that rarely gets mentioned until you're already packing up your desk. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on what no one tells you about retiring early. We'll begin by exploring 2 truths that can make or break your first months of freedom: realities about your social world and the way you spend your hours. Hearing these now can turn potential pitfalls into opportunities, so you step into retirement with both excitement and a plan. It all starts with the people in your life. When you work, your days are naturally peppered with social anchors: greeting a colleague at the coffee machine, swapping stories in the break room, or leaning over a cubicle wall to solve a problem together. Those little moments weave a safety net of belonging and purpose. But once you retire, that net can vanish overnight. One morning you're surrounded by friendly faces, the next you're home wondering who to call when you need an ear or a laugh. Take my friend Evelyn, for instance. She retired at 61 from a long career in human resources and was thrilled at first to swap office life for mornings in her garden. But after 2 weeks she realized she hadn't spoken to anyone outside her husband since she left work. Her phone was silent, and her days felt strangely hollow. Without the rhythm of her former job, she missed the spontaneous chats and the shared jokes that once marked her mornings. Rather than letting loneliness settle in, Evelyn chose to reinvent her social circle. She signed up for a weekly pottery class at the community center, something she'd always been curious about but never had time for. There, she met fellow retirees who shared stories about their own first-year retirements, and they laughed over the challenges of shaping clay on the wheel. She also invited her neighbors over for a monthly book club, and began volunteering at the local food pantry on Thursday afternoons. Before long, her calendar was filled again. No office memos, but plenty of meaningful conversations and new friendships that sparked her joy. Her story shows that retiring early doesn't mean the end of community, it simply means you get to choose it anew. Planning for this shift in advance, listing clubs you might join, causes you care about, or neighbors you'd like to know better, gives you a head start. When your last workday arrives, you'll have fresh circles ready to welcome you, so you don't wake up on that first free Tuesday feeling untethered. Now imagine flipping the page on your weekly planner and seeing nothing but blank space. Exciting, yes, but also a bit daunting. That brings us to the second truth no one warns you about. A padded bank account can't structure your hours. You might believe that once you've saved enough, your biggest challenge will be choosing which beach to visit. Yet without a gentle framework for your day, boredom and self-doubt can sneak in faster than you'd expect. My neighbor Robert found this out the hard way. He retired at 60 from a career in construction and spent his first month luxuriating in long breakfasts, afternoon naps, and reruns of old westerns. At first he relished the freedom, but by the end of week 3 he felt a nagging restlessness. His wife discovered him staring at the wall, wondering if he'd made a mistake. All that unstructured time suddenly felt like an unfilled promise. To find his footing, Robert sketched a simple rhythm for his days. Think morning, midday, afternoon anchors rather than strict timetables. He began each morning with coffee on the porch, jotting down 3 intentions: 1 creative pursuit, like sketching a garden plan; 1 physical activity, a walk around the neighborhood; and 1 social connection, calling a friend or attending a Tai Chi class. That list gave him direction without turning his days into yet another job. In the afternoons, he rotated between volunteering at the animal shelter, experimenting with new grilling recipes, and tackling small home improvement projects he'd shelved for years. Fridays were reserved for spontaneous outings, visiting a museum exhibit or taking a day trip to explore a nearby town. With those touch points in place, he woke up each morning eager to fill his list rather than dragging himself out of bed wondering what to do next. The lesson here is clear. Before you step away from your career, think through how you'll use your time. What morning rituals energize you? Which hobbies have you longed to revisit? Who will you reach out to for connection? You don't need a minute-by-minute itinerary, just a few reliable anchors that give your days shape. That way, early retirement feels like a fresh canvas ready for your brushstrokes, not an empty page inducing anxiety. So now you know the first 2 hidden truths of early retirement. Your social life will shift dramatically, and financial freedom alone won't fill every moment of every day. Recognizing these realities before you hang up your corporate badge lets you plan proactively, cultivating new communities and sketching out a daily rhythm that fuels your spirit. Next, we'll explore 2 more surprising truths that rarely make it into retirement planning checklists: how your sense of identity weaves into your happiness after work, and the unexpected expenses that can pop up when you least expect them. Understanding these deeper layers will help you embrace early retirement with both confidence and joy, knowing you've prepared not just your savings, but your heart and mind for the journey ahead. Let's keep this conversation going.